Hey, what's up, everybody? Thank you for being here. Thank you for watching. It's Friday, and I'm a little more tan than I used to be, although it's not an even tan. It's kind of like farmer's tan. That's okay. Well, I looked over the paper that we're going to read today, and I think we're pretty close to finishing it. I think we might finish it today, and we'll see what those conclusions are. And then there's another paper I've been thinking about reading. Uh, I think it was just like two papers. They're kind of related, but basically, they are papers showing that there's evidence of psychic ability or being able to see the future in a laboratory. So I think I might be talking about those papers. I haven't read them, but I'm very curious to see what they're all about. So, yeah, we'll probably read those papers, and yeah, we'll finish up today. I'll just wait a little bit, I guess, for the room to fill up. Uh, there's Melinda. Hey, Melinda, thank you for being here. Melinda, I will email you pretty soon about the textbook. I've just been so busy, I haven't been able to, but thank you for being here. But yeah, what I was saying is that I'm thinking about talking about some other papers that may be interesting to people. And these papers are showing uh, experimental scientific evidence of psychic ability, basically. So I found one of them. Let me just pull it up, and I don't know, maybe we'll read the abstract right now, since we have time. Melissa says, thank you. No hurry. Yeah. Yeah, and I still need to make slides for all those presentations, but I don't think that'll be that hard. I have the textbook, so I'm just going to go through and make some slides and some class curriculum to kind of go along with the textbook. And I'm really excited about that. And I'm really excited about teaching a class on viruses, virology. It seems like everybody in the world now at least knows what a virus is. So let's take a class and learn more about viruses. They're fascinating. Viruses are very interesting. There's been a debate for a long time whether viruses are they alive or are they not alive? Are they just made with living components, but they're not actually alive? But I talked to my friend who's a medical doctor, an internist, a specialist in internal medicine. He fully believes they're living animals. So, hey Tina, thanks for being here. But yeah, I'm super excited about viruses. Okay, so let me just pull up this other paper as a preview. This is the paper that I want to talk about in the future. So let's see. Sharing. Share screen. There's this one. Share that one. All right. There we go. Okay, so yeah, let's go ahead and share this paper. Okay, so here's the paper that I'm thinking about reading in the future. And there's another paper like it, basically, but I just found this one. I couldn't find the original paper, but this is close enough. Okay, so this is published by a legitimate journal. It's called the American Psychological Journal, and the title of this article, I'm not going to read it all today, but I'm considering talking about this one. So it says, feeling the future, experimental evidence for anomalous retroactive influences on cognition and affect. Once again, it's like a really long title. It's not really easy to understand right off the bat, but this paper was all published in 2011 by one scientist, one author. And if I looked over here in the corner, there's some other papers that were published afterwards. Like this paper right here says, afterthoughts on precognition, no cogent evidence for anomalous influences of consequential events on preceding cognition. So this was published afterwards on 2013, and this paper saying there is no evidence actually for being able to predict the future. And then here's another paper published in 2012, which is a satire, and it says, we knew the future all along. Scientific hypnotizing is much more accurate than other forms of precognition. It sounds once again like they're making fun of this. But anyway, let me just read this abstract before we get started and finish up our UFO paper. Okay, so this is a different paper. It says, abstract. The term psi, denotes anomalous processes of information or energy transfer that are currently unexplained in terms of known physics or biological mechanisms. Two variants of psi are precognition, conscious cognition awareness, and premonition, affective apprehension. Okay, that's very interesting. Of a future event that could not otherwise be anticipated through any known inferential process. So they're making this distinction between precognition and premonition. All right. Precognition and premonition are themselves special cases of a more general phenomenon, the anomalous retroactive, so retro means before, influence of some future event on an individual's current responses. Whether these responses are conscious or non-conscious, cognitive or affective. So yeah, I think that's the difference between precognition and premonition. Precognition is conscious, and premonition is non-conscious. This article reports 9 experiments involving more than 1,000 participants that test for the retroactive influence by time reversing well-established psychological effects so that the individual's response are obtained before the punitively causal stimulants events occur. Before I read forward, I think what they do, a way of testing precognition in a lab is like you show somebody random pictures, and some of them are like of a kitten, and others are like of a horrific car accident. And so you test the person's response, like their heart rate, or like basically you test whether they're looking happy or stressed. And sometimes they've shown that before someone actually sees a traumatic image, they'll start to react to it. They'll have like a negative reaction. I'm not sure if that's what they're doing here. Okay. Data are presented for 4 time reversed effects. Precognitive approach to erotic stimuli. Okay, so now they're using, instead of kittens and horrific accidents, they're using like porn, basically, erotic stimuli, and precognitive avoidance of negative stimuli. So they're also using negative images. Retroactive priming, retroactive habituation, and retroactive facilitation of recall. The mean effect size D in psi performance across all 9 experiments was 0.22, and all but one of the experiments yielded statistically significant results. The individual difference variable of stimuli seeking a component of extroversion was significantly correlated with psi performance in 5 of the experiments, with participants who scored above the midpoint on a scale of stimuli seeking achievement a mean effect of 0.43. Skepticism about psi, issues of replication, and theories of psi are also discussed. Okay. So that middle part was just a bunch of like statistical analysis information. But the last part is interesting. So in this paper, he's going to talk about skepticism, issues of replication. If you remember correctly, in science, you just need 2 things. You need to be able to replicate your results. So someone has to be able to get the same results you get. And you need to have a term called falsifiability, which is able to show that something is incorrect versus showing that it is correct. And then there's also, he's going to discuss theories of psi. So that looks like an interesting paper. There's a few other ones, I think, on psi abilities. But that's for a future date. Let's see. Tina says, whoops. I think we all have the ability if we knew how to activate the dormant parts of our brains. Yeah, I agree with that, Tina. I don't have any strong evidence. It's just like my gut instinct from reading about psi, talking to people that have psi abilities. Just my unconscious hypothesis is that every human has some psi ability. And it sounds like we just need to meditate to get it to be stronger. But in the world that we live in, the current world we live in, I mean, meditation is the exact opposite of what most people do. Most people don't sit down calmly and concentrate on one thing. Most people look at lots of things for a short amount of time, and they're overstimulated. So that's what I think. Tina says, I have many precognition moments, but I cannot control when it's going to happen. And I have not learned to feel or see things in command as of either. Okay, so yeah, that's interesting. Have you tried meditation? What are your thoughts on meditation? And then Melinda, our resident scientist, says, that's interesting about Tina's comment. I wonder what you're picking up in those moments of precognition. How is it working? Yeah. So cool. It seems like you guys are interested in precognition and psi abilities. I am too. And there have been experiments done on it. So I think we will go ahead and do that at some point. Okay, guys. So let's go ahead, I guess, and jump into the paper and see where we're going to end up. It's already been 10 minutes. That's crazy. I guess I did read like a whole abstract. Okay, let's go ahead and get that paper up. Here it is right here. Wow. All right. Let me do something real fast. Do this just to make it bigger. Okay, and then Melinda also says, I wonder if psi abilities come from the junk DNA that have been placed there by UFOs. Interesting hypothesis. Yeah, Melinda and I on the show have discussed this idea of junk DNA. DNA is what it's basically, I don't know, this is a really basic way of saying it, but it's basically the recipe book or instructions on how to make an organism. In a human's case, our DNA shows its directions on how to build a human and other things as well. But there's this idea out there, there's a lot of junk DNA, or there's areas of the DNA, which is basically a bunch of data that we don't seem to know what it's for. Why is it there? It's a lot of it. So scientists call it junk DNA. They're kind of assuming, well, we don't know what it's for, so it's probably for nothing. But the idea could be that it's actually for things we don't understand, which makes more sense to me, just off the top of my head. All right, Tina says, I have just started to meditate, so I'm hoping it will help me for many reasons. I'm a super newbie to meditation. Me too, but I've read that meditation can do a lot of interesting things. I've read that meditation can help you with magic, basically. I'm reading a book by Dean Radin called Real Magic. Dean Radin is a scientist, and apparently, well, in this book, he gives directions, and he tells you how to perform magic, some forms of magic, like basically there's some steps you could do, and with those steps, you could affect the reality around you. One example, like an easy thing you could do is like, let's say you want to start finding $100 every month. That's very low level magic. Well, he outlines steps you could take, and it involves meditation, where you can make that happen. You can make it so that you find an extra $100 every month. And I guess he calls it Merlin level magicians. If you're really talented, you can make bigger things happen in the world. But he recommends that people start off with small things. And he also warns against, bad forms of magic. Like you shouldn't wish somebody to love you. You shouldn't really affect someone else's emotions. That's considered black magic, and it has repercussions for yourself and others. So you shouldn't do that. And what else about magic? Like praying is a form of magic. It sounds like, because when you're deeply praying, let's say it's just called for religious people, for Christians. When you're praying, it's a form of meditation, you're taught, and you do ask God for favors. You are trying to affect the world around you by just thinking about it. And a lot of people say that, praying helps. Like if you're praying for someone's health, it helps. So perhaps this magic stuff is real. And perhaps, a lot of Christian praying is a form of white magic and not a form of black magic. It's just some hypothesis I'm throwing out there. But definitely, magic is a part of our world. It's been a part of our world for a long time. We just don't really call it that. I mean, a lot of Christian churches are like against witchcraft and magic. But if you look at the definition of magic, it sounds like praying is a form of magic, basically. So who knows? Nothing against Christians, really. Okay. Here we go. Tina says, Melinda, when I was 14, I had, I guess what you would call a vision or a flash. I was sitting on the couch in our living room, and I zoned out, and I had like an awake dream. Hard to put into words. Sorry. So during this dream, I'm guessing you saw some things that turned out to happen before they happened. I'm guessing. Okay. Well, cool, guys. Very interesting input. I always love talking to you guys. But yeah, I guess we'll get back to the paper. But yeah, we can continue this conversation. There's just a lag, I think, between the time that by the time that you hear me, there's a lag. So sometimes the comments are a little bit back, but let's keep having this conversation. But because of a lag, let me go ahead and start that paper again. Okay. All right, so what we're going to do is I'm just going to reread this part because it wasn't too long. So just toward the end of the paper, and once again, you could read this paper and download it and look at the pictures and do whatever. If you look at the description of this video, it's going to be there. And I almost forgot. Got to share my screen. Caught it that time. Okay. And then Melinda says, wow, that's very interesting, Atina. Yeah, definitely. All right, back to the paper. Right here. Okay, speculative conclusions. So these scientists have done some analysis on the metal, and they're going to talk about what could potentially be causing this UFO debris in the 70s. They've already discussed some possible hypotheses or explanations, but then they also explain why it's probably not those things they talk about. So now I think they're going to, after having done this chemical analysis, trying to find out what this material is made of, they're going to talk about what their new conclusions are. And this paper was just written this year, so it's very recent. And yeah, what else can I say? This is part 3. So the previous 2 episodes are part 1 and part 2, if you want to catch up on the saga. But yeah, let's see. Speculative conclusions. We have outlined current trends in advanced material analysis as applied to solid samples collected in the field, with a view to determine their nature, structure, and potential purpose. Our experience with the Council Bluffs case shows how difficult such a determination can be, even when abundant evidence is collected within minutes of an event, supported by reliable testimony from multiple witnesses and a well-defined meteorological condition. So they're already telling us, like, hey, man, we have the best equipment, we have the best methods, we have the perfect UFO case, everything you could ask for, and still it is very difficult to determine what this material is made of. Okay? So one possible explanation was Operation Morning Light. So after the initial dismissal, the U.S. Air Force again took a special interest in the case because of another quote-unquote crash that took place in northern Canada at 11:53 a.m. GMT on January 24th, 1978, only 5 weeks after the unidentified observation and the recovery of metallic material at Council Bluffs. The Canadian crash was the result of a malfunction aboard Cosmos 954, a Soviet reconnaissance satellite designed to observe ocean traffic, including surface and undersea vessels. It was powered by a liquid sodium-potassium thermionic converter driven by a nuclear reactor containing 45 kilograms of uranium-253, a radioactive material. Soviet authorities secretly warned the United States that control of the satellite had been lost and that the system intended to propel the spent reactor core into a safe disposal orbit had failed. So I thought this, when I was thinking about this today at the beach, I was like, yeah, the Soviet authorities call up America. And they're like, hey, what's going on, guys? And the Americans are like, no, nothing, just chilling. What's up with you? And Soviets are like, oh, nothing. Just cool. Everything's cool here in Russia. Very cool, very cool. And then the Americans are like, okay, so what's up? Why'd you call us? What's going on? And the Soviets are like, well, nothing really. Well, okay, look, this is one little thing. It's funny, actually. We just thought we would tell you. We got this satellite. We lost control of it. And it's got a bunch of. It's got about 45 kilograms of uranium-235. It's probably going to land somewhere. So just keep an eye out. No big deal. So then the Soviet authorities secretly warned the United States. The science correspondent of the London Daily Mirror, Arthur Smith, pointed out the satellite was the 15th of its type to be launched by Russia. The effort to recover radioactive material from the Cosmos 954, dubbed Operation Morning Light, once again, very good name for a operation. Thus, it was natural for the U.S. and Canadian authorities to revive their lagging interest in the Council Bluffs case and to investigate potential connection. Now, given the analytical results and the instrumental procedures, described above, it soon became clear there was no connection between the two events. The origin of the materials collected at the Council Bluffs remained a tantalizing mystery. leading to speculation about more esoteric theories about the hovering object with rotating lights, independently described by two of the witnesses. One is led to ask, what would be the requirements to determine whether such materials were not man-made, but originated with an unknown source, either in the solar neighborhood or elsewhere in the galaxy? This includes the possibility the material was engineered in a purely conventional manner by humans for yet unknown purposes. So this last sentence, he's like saying, like, okay, so, what are the requirements? Like, what do we need to show to determine that this material was not man-made? It was not made by humans, but it came from somewhere else, maybe somewhere else in the galaxy. Or what would be the requirements? What evidence do we need to show that this was made in a really simple way, but that we don't understand why? So let's see. So this other section, 5.2, says potential significance of advanced material design. All right. The fact that two witnesses, Mike and Chris Moore, saw a round object hovering but not falling with red blinking lights around the periphery is intriguing. Such an object might have ejected the mass of material observed by the other witnesses and recovered by police. Okay, yeah. So once again, they're saying, yeah, maybe this UFO with the red blinking lights, just threw up this material. Even in such a speculative area, the scientific steps to be taken are not fundamentally different from those we have outlined above. One would have to ask, does the catalog of elements found in the material cause us to believe it does not come from our planet? So he's saying, based on what we found this material is made of, does that make us think it's not from Earth? The materials from Council Bluffs show no evidence suggesting it has been engineered or designed. Okay, so there's no evidence that it's been made specially or designed specially. The material would not be expected to form naturally. Okay, and as shown, does not have unusual inhomogeneity. While we cannot define the purpose, that does not mean it could not be created by methods even extant in 1970s. Okay, let's see. The material from Council Bluffs show no evidence suggesting it was been engineered or designed. Okay, the material will not be expected to form naturally. Okay, so this is not something that you could find naturally, like in a mountain, I guess. And as shown, does not have unusual inhomogeneity. I think I know what this means. It means that it doesn't show like weird, different characteristics. I think that's what inhomogeneity means. Let's find out. It means the condition or an instance of not being homogeneous. Okay, that's what I thought. So homogeneous means everything's the same. It's not different. So this means that the condition or an instance of not being homogeneous. So this means it's not all the same. So when you use it, so it does have unusual, the material will not be expected to form naturally, and as shown does have. So it does have this thing. So it's not shown to be formed naturally, and it does have an unusual, it does have the condition of not being homogeneous. Okay, yeah, that makes sense, because it is a combination of different metals. It is an alloy. Okay. Now, while we cannot define the purpose, that does not mean it could not be created by methods even extant in 1970s. Extant means that it's currently, I think extant is the opposite of extinct. So what they're saying is that this stuff, it could have been made with, the technology of the 1970s. Extant officially means especially still in existence. Yeah, still surviving. Okay. A definitive study of the isotopic ratios would be part of an investigation, while keeping in mind that such ratios should be expected to only vary by a small amount, a few percentage points, across our neighborhood of the galaxy. Large differences in isotope ratios, on the other hand, while they would be interesting, would not by themselves prove, in quotes, an outer space origin. They would only mean that the material had been re-engineered at the isotopic level, as major nations have been doing for the last 70 years since the Manhattan Project, and separating uranium isotopes to make the atom bomb. Okay, interesting. Let's go forward. I'm processing that still. Okay, that's the end of that section. Now we get into liquid metal, MHD, and advanced flying vehicles. All right, we're getting into UFOs now. Let's see the comments. Let's see. Hold on. Put on my camera. Okay, so Tina and Melinda are discussing their, Tina's a psychic premonition, I think, from what I understand. So Tina says, I saw our top floor beach condo shaking with water rising and a lot of destruction. And it told my parents, and I told my parents, it almost made me cry. It was so scary. My parents ended up selling for work that fall. So they sold the beachside condo. A hurricane wiped out the north end of the island. Friends said the condominium was shaking, and I had actually seen that happen. Well, that's kind of crazy. That is a crazy premonition that came true. I'm actually on an island right now. Little coincidence. Okay. Whoa, that's an amazing and very overwhelming. I agree with Melinda. My husband, Melinda says, my husband was aware of the Soviet satellite that had went down. He's from Moscow. Came to the U.S. after the Soviet collapse. He came in 1992. Oh, interesting. I thought your last name was Russian. Okay. Another connection to the paper. Tina says, yes, that's just one of the major things that happened, but there are always lots of little things. My brother and sister always said I was part alien, and it really freaked them out. Well, that is very different. It's a shame that the U.S. is not the same country as it was in 1992. Yeah, dude, I miss the 90s. I'm glad I was a child in the 90s, but I wish I was an adult in the 90s. I could have really taken advantage of a lot of cool stuff. Melina says, yes, I can see where some can find it unnerving, but I say embrace it. It's a gift, wherever it comes from. Yeah, I think I agree with that too. Yeah, I wouldn't try to get rid of it or hide it because I just don't think that's possible. Melinda says, I agree, the world seems out of control. Yeah. I was thinking about it. There's a lot of negativity in the world, and there's a lot of negativity on YouTube and on social media. And I don't want to have any of that negativity here on this channel. So I always want this to be a place for positivity and fun and learning, really. Tina says, I really appreciate that Melinda, as it definitely has not been easy, but I agree. I've had to give since age 5 and finally became okay to accept and talk about it. Well, congratulations. I hope you continue to grow some peace in this thing. Yes, sir. Howdy. Love the work you're doing here. Oh, thank you. Yes, sir. Yeah, I saw that you subscribed during the last episode. Thank you so much for being here. I sure appreciate you being here. And thank you for the compliment. I think you'll find we have a really good community we're starting to build here. With a lot of good opinions. Thank you for being here. Tina says hello. And then Melinda says, good for you. Tina, it's been a long road, I'm sure, but you're all the better for it now. Yeah. And yes, sir says, it's all juicy information. I'm sure someone somewhere is making good use of those papers. Yeah, that's true. That is true. Data or just information has always been valuable. It's probably the most valuable resource there is out there. I always like to give this example, like, what would you rather have? Like, would you rather have like a handful of diamonds, or would you rather have the directions to an area that has a bunch of diamonds, and those diamonds are on on public land, so you could just go get them? So would you rather have this handful of diamonds or a slip of paper with directions to a bunch of diamonds? Well, that piece of paper it's just information, but in my opinion, that's a lot more valuable, that information, than the handful of diamonds. So what I'm saying is that information is a very valuable resource. And just like Yes Sir is saying, this paper has information, so somebody's probably using that to their advantage. And Yes Sir says howdy to Tina. Okay, so let's go back and let's look at this conclusion about the flying saucer. All right, fix everything here. Okay, let me get rid of this. All right. Liquid metal, MHD, and advanced flying vehicles. I'm not sure what MHD sounds like a drug, but I'm sure it's not. One aspect of the material is that it was claimed to have dropped from an aerial vehicle. Could liquid metal be part of some propulsion or power generation system? That's what I said. So these types of droppings by UFOs have been seen a lot, sometimes over the ocean. And I thought I remembered correctly. Yeah, Jacques Vallée and some other scientists are saying, could this liquid metal be part of the propulsion or the power generation system? In the words of J.R. Bumby of the University of Durham, in quotes, the high conductivity of liquid metals makes them an attractive means of current collection for homopolar machines. Homopolar machines, interesting. I was about to say, what's a homopolar machine? But here it is. A homopolar machine. That sounds like a band name. The homopolar machine. A homopolar machine, when implying a motor of some kind, is wherein the electrical polarity of the conductor in the system and magnetic field poles do not change. Is as with the first such electrical motors built by Faraday as far back as 1821. Okay, the electrical polarity of the conductor in the system and magnetic field poles do not change. I'm not sure. I don't know a lot about metal electricity and about magnetic fields, but I do know that both electricity and magnetic fields have a negative and a positive charge. And I think what they're saying is that in these electrical motors, like the first ones that were built by Faraday, that pole does not change. So you just have one pole, either both positive or negative. So he goes on to cite several such techniques, both superconducting and non-superconducting, that have been built, and one that is commercially available. No such device has been reported to date, so such ideas remain highly speculative. Okay, so this scientist who is J.R. Bumby of the University of Durham is saying that this type of liquid metal could be used in this type of electrical engine, which is right now is still speculative, and none of them have been built. But I don't know. But it does say that Faraday built one of the earliest ones in 1861. Anyway, similarly, liquid metal designs have been proposed for magnetohydrodynamic. Oh, here's what MHD means. Magnetohydrodynamic generators. So magneto means magnets, magnetic fields. Hydro means liquid, and dynamic means changing. So magnetic, liquid, changing engines or generators. Liquid metal designs have been proposed for these MHD generators for the decomposition of toxic waste and for the superconducting airborne platforms. Okay. However, the composition of the liquids used in such machines is radically different from the list of elements in the Council Bluffs materials, as noted by Busby, in quotes, at room temperatures, the only pure liquid metal is mercury. That's true. Although at slightly higher temperatures, gallium at 29.8 degrees Celsius and sodium at 97.8 degrees Celsius becomes liquid. Again, there is no current physics that could explain the use of liquid iron with impurities in any of the aforementioned technologies. Actual machines are using sodium, potassium, and gallium indium mixtures as current conductors, thus minimizing wear and friction. Okay, so he's saying that some advanced engines could use liquid metals, but not the type that we have in the Council Bluffs case, not the type of UFO material. The latter liquid above 15.7 degrees Celsius. None of these elements have been identified so far among the samples we have reviewed. Okay, so they're just speculating. Some advanced engines could be using liquid metal, but of what we know so far, not the type of liquid metal we have in the Council Bluffs case. A different approach has been proposed by J. Roser in correspondence with one of the authors. He hypothesized a nuclear design as a potential power plant, utilizing direct energy conversion rather than a heat-driven mechanical prime mover. In quotes, a closed cycle MHD generator with a liquid metal working fluid with no vapor station pumping could be configured in a torus or circular shape and would make very little noise to the lack of moving parts. He wrote, adding that the nuclear process known as beta decay might allow the design to extract the surplus of power in the form of free electrons. Okay, so now they're saying there's a different type of engine that's a nuclear engine, Let's see. Specifically, he calls it a nuclear process. Nuclear design is a potential power plant. So liquid metal could be used for nuclear power generation. Okay. Assuming a working fluid of aluminum-27 plus some percentage of phosphorus-31, solitary stable isotopes of the respective elements, Roser speculated that depleted fluid might need to be occasionally ejected. Okay, so here's what we're talking about, why this UFO might eject the material. So he speculated that if you're using aluminum and phosphorus as liquids in a nuclear power generation capacity, that depleted fluid metals might have to be occasionally ejected or gotten rid of. This discarded material will contain aluminum-27 and phosphorus-11, iron from the original melt or housing erosion, plus isotopes of nuclei close to aluminum and phosphorus, such as Mg, magnesium, sodium, Si, which I'm not sure, and S. One of them is silicon, I think. Iron and silicon were indeed found in our Council Bluffs samples, but the other elements were not present. Okay, Roser suggests further isotopic analysis to determine if it reveals anomalous isotopes or anomalous or weird isotopes, different types of elements. Isotopes are basically different types of elements. Elements are what's on the periodic table, and those can vary based on their subatomic particles. So we can engineer elements to change those subatomic particles, but some of them would be very anomalous or strange. So he's saying, Roser's saying, let's do a better analysis of these materials in the Council Bluffs case to see if they have these weird isotopes. Okay. And when we're looking for those isotopes, we should look for 32Si, which I think is silicon, I'm not sure, which has with a half-life of 280 years, which would indicate a nuclear-based power source. The latter isotope was not detected in the Council Bluffs materials. Should the Council Bluffs materials be determined to be engineered for a function we don't currently understand, it remains that our physics are yet insufficient to explain the purpose of such material. All right, so yeah, that's interesting. So in this explanation, yeah, they're saying, hey, it looks like we have very early evidence that liquid metal could be used for advanced engines. We don't know those technologies yet. We don't have it there. We're not there yet. But evidence shows that in the future we might be there. So yeah, it could be this was a UFO. This was a vehicle, and the liquid metal was ejected, and the reason was because it was used to generate power, as basically a summary. Okay, so now summary. Before we get to that summary, let's go to StreamYard. Tina's there. Hey guys, please make sure to hit that like button, subscribe, and click the notification bell so you don't miss the shows. Hey, thank you so much, Tina. I sure appreciate that. Yeah, guys. I mean, just go ahead. I mean, if you're watching this, just like it, leave a comment, subscribe. I'm really open to people's ideas for a show. If you want to do something, and I really do want to grow the show. I think it'll be fun. It's always more fun if there's more people at the party. And then, was that Durham, North Carolina? Check. Tina says, welcome, everybody. Thank you, Tina, for welcoming everybody. I'm sure some of our Black projects were probably a lot closer than we are aware. Yeah, good point. Let's see. Let's look up. Tina asks if that's the University of Durham in North Carolina. So let's go back to the paper before we read the summary and find out. So basically, the scientist that was giving possible explanations is from the University of Durham, but we're going to find out. Okay, so let's just copy this section. Here. Find out what happens. Oh, there's a show called Extant. That's pretty cool. All right, let's see. Let me see. I'm trying to find out where this University of Durham is. Oh, it looks like it's in the UK, maybe. Okay, here we go. Yeah, it's in the UK, so it's not North Carolina. So I think so, yeah. Let's just go with this one. This is not the same guy, I don't think. But I believe, just based on this information, I think it is probably the University of. I think it's in the UK. Yeah. Yep. And yeah. Okay. Back to the thrilling conclusion. All right. Summary: because of the clarity, abundance, and timelines of the testimony, and the open attitude of local police and fire investigators in the Council Bluffs case, we were able to investigate the event with a high degree of certainty as to chain of custody around the material obtained. While this study verified the prior findings in terms of elemental composition and quote unquote natural isotopic content, okay, so apparently there were no weird isotopes. That's interesting. We additionally found that there was local homogeneity of the samples to a degree measured, but considerable diversity in the elemental ratios across the subsamples. This implies that whatever the sample's origin, it was incompletely mixed at the time of deposition. All right, so interesting. So, based on their analysis, whatever was dropped, this molten metal was not mixed easily. It wasn't mixed thoroughly. They didn't mix it completely. Okay. The Council Bluffs case is one of many. The last several decades has recorded numerous cases wherein materials were claimed to be dropped from unknown aerial objects. It has not been possible or financially feasible to date to bring a full range of current material analysis capabilities to bear. Deep metallurgical analysis by specifically trained analysts will need to be consulted for each different material as warranted. Recently, news reports have suggested the presence of other aerial craft of unknown provenance witnessed by U.S. naval pilots concurrently detected with electronic sensors and visual identifications. That's true. We have been seeing some UFOs by the Navy. While the data collected about this set of events does not include any material evidence, that they might come when materials from such events are available to be examined. Oh, is he hinting there? Does he know something we don't know? Is he saying he's suggesting that the day may come in the future where we have materials from these Navy cases, physical things we could hold. Approaches that maximally provide information down to the atomic scale are now applicable to such studies, including such devices as atom probes and cryo-electron microscopy. Since technology has been considerably improved since 1977, we are now better prepared to analyze such events, with a view to bring previously unidentified episodes into the scope of practical and reproducible science. The objective is to provide data in an open source manner. That's good. Okay, open source. That means everybody can access it. So that others might replicate. That's good. The analytical approaches or divine and testable hypothesis of why and how such materials were deposited or left behind. To many, this will feel incomplete or insufficient, but this would be a premature conclusion. In the case of Council Bluffs, however, the data is verifiable. It is only the origin and nature of the material and the phenomenon in general that remains open. The end. Okay. So he's saying basically that in this case, the Council Bluffs case, the data is verifiable. So the results of what the metal was, when it was found, where it was found, pictures, all that is not up for debate. We have so much evidence. What's only up for debate is the origin and the nature of the material. Where did it come from? What is it? What does it do? But he does give these hypotheses, which I think. Here's what I think. Here's my hot take. Let me put myself on. What I think is going on is that Garry Nolan, Jacques, Vallée, I'm guessing, this is what I think. They probably do think it is part of a UFO and it's part of the engine, an advanced engine. And it was, because that's what they say. But at the same time, it doesn't seem like they have enough evidence right now to publish those results. So as a scientist, you don't want to ever say something is definitively right without enough evidence. So, they talk a lot about what it isn't. They give all the best explanations of what it could be, if it was just a hoax or if it was a satellite or et cetera, an accident in space. But then they also tell you why it's not those things. But then they talk about the engine thing. So hopefully there's more research coming out, and I don't know. It's a good UFO case. It's very weird. I'm starting to think a lot of UFOs, if they are real, don't come from outer space. They come from the oceans. They are terrestrial, but once again, I don't have evidence for that. It's just my gut feeling. But that's where a lot of science comes from. It comes from your gut feeling. First, you have a gut feeling, and then you come up with a hypothesis. Then you come up with an experiment. And that experiment, a lot of times, will tell you whether you were right or wrong, or it'll at least help you answer that question a little more. Okay. And then Tina says, sounds like he knows more for sure. Yeah, I think these guys do know more for sure. And they're just being cagey. They're not releasing all the information all at once, which that makes sense. I'm glad they're releasing some information. That's good. They did a good job going through the potential options. Yeah, they did. They gave a lot of good options. I can't think of anything else it would be. Those are all seem like to be the most common one. Oh, hey, Rican's here. Yo, yo, yo. Hey, Rican. Good to see you, brother. Hope you're doing well. So good to see you here. Watching. I 100% agree with you. They have bases in lakes, oceans, in my opinion. Yeah, it's just a gut feeling. I think there's forms of life that we don't that are as intelligent or probably more intelligent than humans, and I do believe they live in the oceans. I mean, I'll just say it again: the majority of the planet is the ocean. The majority, a big part of the planet is the ocean, and a lot of that part of the ocean, humans don't live there permanently, and we don't know what's there, and we have no reason to go there. Humans go to catch fish and animals in the ocean, right? But those fish and animals only live in the shallow areas. They only live around masses of land. So when you get out really, really deep away from any land, like an island or a country or a continent, there are not a lot of fish there. So we don't go there to fish. That's probably where these guys live. Really, they probably live in the majority of the planet. We live in the minority of the planet. They live in the majority of the planet. John P is here. Hey, John P, thanks for being here, brother. Good vibes. Thank you so much. But yeah, guys, I guess that's it. I think my friends went to the restaurant without me. They're eating fajitas. I am kind of hungry, but I'm sure glad you guys are here. Let's continue the conversation in the comments. I'm going to log out, but if you have any questions or comments, what did you think about this paper? Where should we go forward? Please put that in the comments. I will respond to all the comments, and I think we're going to have a good time. So thanks, everybody, for being here. John P says, how's my holidays going? Very well. Today was really overcast, which is great. I was at the beach all day. There was no bright sun, and I don't know. I was just like hanging out in the waves, really. I try to take some cool pictures. I have a nice camera, but there's really not. I realize there's not a lot of interesting things in the beach. I mean, it's just like the water, the sand, and some people moving around. So I was going to share some photos, but I don't really have that many good photos to share. Maybe just one or two, but it was fun. Tina says, thanks for doing the show, even though you're on vacation. Had a great time. Yeah, sure, guys. I want to be consistent, and to be honest, I really like talking to you guys. It makes my life better to have you guys here to talk to, and I hope I could add some entertainment to your life. John says, nice. And any hikes? No hikes. I just walked down the beach, basically. Tina says, I have really enjoyed tonight's topics. Thank you so much. Yeah, me too, Tina. We covered a lot. Let me see if I can show that one. Okay, I'll show one picture that's like the only. I'll show one picture of my vacation. Let's see. Show this, and then we'll go on that. But thank you guys. You guys are so sweet. I really appreciate it. Okay, let's see. Okay, so yeah, I'll just show one picture. This was today, and I was just on a pier. Here we go. So here I am on a pier overlooking the ocean. I got my backpack on, my Pong hat, my Jurassic Park shirt, and my camera bag. But yeah, like I said, just a lot of water. Not that much going on in the ocean. And John P says, nice, thanks. Tina says, beautiful picture. Thank you. Yeah, I'm a tourist. I'm like so much of a tourist. Awesome. Yeah. Yeah, it was fun. I went to like a local shelter here, and they had like a resale shop, and I wanted to help the cats and kittens, so I bought some New Balance shoes. They're like a $45 pair of shoes. I got it for like $7. They're very comfortable. Yeah. I also went to Mexico. I'm close to the Mexico border, and I went to Mexico and I had a bunch of tacos and gorditas, street food. They're very small. Their portions are tiny, but I guess you got to make a buck. And Tina says it's been raining here on North Myrtle Beach. Cool. Got 2MB. Am I a water sign? My birthday is May 21st, and so that's like a cusp, I think. So sometimes I'm a Gemini, sometimes I'm a Taurus. Taurus and Gemini. So Taurus is a bull and Gemini. I don't know what it is. So Skechers are good for your feet. Yeah, I think so. I'm not sure if I've had Skechers, but yeah, I do like a comfortable pair of shoes. Oh, and Melinda's on May 23rd. Cool. Yeah, we'll have to have a birthday bash on the show. We'll throw a birthday stream for both of us. Oh, and John P. Adventures of Taurus. Look at that. We have a lot in common. There's a lot of coincidence on this episode because Tina was talking about a premonition on an island. I'm on an island. There's some other like weird coincidences that were happening on this episode, but that's just the way it goes. Skechers are the most comfortable ever. Oh, okay. Cool, guys. Look, man, this is kind of bad because I really enjoy talking to you guys, but I'm also very hungry. This always happens on the shows. But yeah, I wore my UFO shirt today to celebrate our UFO stream. But yeah, guys, let's continue the conversation in the comments. Share this on your social media, and let's keep growing the channel. Let me know if you want to do any kind of special episodes. And yeah, that's about it, guys. Take care. I love you all. Take care and have fun. Thank you for being here. Nightmare on holidays. Oh, interesting. All right. Bye, everybody. Thank you so much for watching.